All right. Hello and welcome to another live session. My name is Sidney and I'm the digital marketing intern for Nomad Stays. And for everybody that is here that doesn't know what Nomad Stays is, it is a booking platform for longer stays that is perfect for digital nomads, remote workers, or anyone just adventurous and likes to travel. And today I'm going to be interviewing a nomad. Her name is Erin Carey. Erin is from Australia and she is the founder of Rome Generation, which is a PR agency. And she's also a publicist, an adventurer. She does a little bit of freelance. She's a writer, entrepreneur, and of course a sailor. She is currently living on her sailboat with her family in France. That's pretty cool. And I'm going to be inviting her to the live session. And here she is.
Here I am.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, good. How are you, Sydney?
I'm doing pretty good. Um, so you want to just introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, sure. My name is Erin. I live on a boat with my husband and three kids, and I run a PR agency aboard as we sail around the world.
That's awesome. When did you become a digital nomad?
Uh, in 2018, so we lived on our boat for about almost 2 years in 2018, 2019, and then we went home to Australia for a break, and then the pandemic struck, so then we were stuck back in Australia for about 18 months, and then we
Hmm.
started again this year. So, yeah, altogether about 3 years.
That's awesome. Why did you become a digital nomad?
Uh, Well, it kind of happened coincidentally. Wasn't something that we had planned or even had a goal to do. We were a regular family living in the suburbs of Adelaide, Australia, and we just happened to watch a documentary one night about Laura Decker, the youngest girl to ever sail around the world. And in that documentary, it just really struck a chord with us. And, after watching that documentary, my husband and I both looked at each other and went, let's do it. So
Yeah.
it was completely random. We had never sailed before, we'd never owned a boat, and we definitely didn't expect that we'd ever live on a boat and be sailing around the world with our kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, once we got out there, we realized that we really liked it. We wanted to continue doing it because the original plan was just to go on a sabbatical. But after we realized how much we loved it and we didn't want to go back to the real world, we tried to come up with a way to sustain the trip by making money along the way. And then that's when I became a digital nomad and started my business, Rome Generation.
That's awesome. So exciting. What are the challenges of being a digital nomad?
Well, there are a few. I think boat life aside, because there are so many challenges of living on a boat, but if you take away the boat challenges, the challenges of being a digital nomad, I think probably the sense of community and feeling a little bit isolated at times, finding places to work. I mean, I'm lucky that we can travel with our home with us all the time. So, on the boat, I have an office, but there's challenges with that because my kids are there. It can be hot. It can be, uncomfortable. I'm not in an air-conditioned office with colleagues all the time, so that's definitely a challenge in itself. Then you've got the challenge of the internet, which
Hmm.
is mostly good, but you have the days when it's just not great, and you're doing an important client meeting, and you can't help but feel that they're judging you because you're a remote company, and these are the problems that we're going to have because you're remote. You're never going to have good internet. So those kind of things happen now and then, but other than that, I think there's also just as many benefits,
Yeah.
more I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it hard traveling with kids?
Yes. Um, yeah, look, it is. It's really hard traveling with kids. It's definitely easier to stay home and send them to school. Of course, when you travel with children, you're responsible for their education. So we have to homeschool our kids, which is a huge like project and endeavor. And thankfully, my husband does that while I run our business. So schooling is definitely very challenging. Just also finding them friends, I think, is the biggest
Yeah.
challenge that we've found out here, especially living on a boat. When we were in the Caribbean, there were actually lots and lots of families living on boats, so it was quite easy to find them friends over there. But now that we're in the
Mhm.
Mediterranean, we're finding it a lot more challenging to find kid boats, as we call them. So that's hard. They're sometimes bored. They're sometimes lonely. They miss their grandparents and their cousins back in Australia.
Yeah.
So there are downsides to doing what we're doing. I just hope that when they're older, they'll really appreciate and be able to look back on what we've done and realize how amazing it was. But right now, the kids don't really care if you're seeing Roman ruins or
Yeah.
a really old church or a castle. I mean, they don't appreciate those things at a young age, so that can kind of be a little bit demoralizing when, as an adult, we're really excited and think we're taking them somewhere amazing, and then they're like, "Nah, can we go
Yeah.
home?" um, so yeah, look, it is challenging, but it's also rewarding because we get to spend so much time together, and I don't think I'll ever regret when I'm older having spent more time with my family and my kids, even if it's hard and challenging and they can drive me nuts at times. I think
Yeah.
it's good that we're spending a lot of time together.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll look back at it when they're older and just realize how much it was, how like cool it was at the time.
I think so. Every now and
Yeah.
then they say little things that make me think that, yeah, they are appreciating this, they love this,
Yeah.
and when you hear them talk about when I get older, when I have kids, I'm going to live on a boat and we're going to travel here, there, and it's cute to
Yeah.
hear them say, that they're going to live on a boat or they're going to take their family traveling. It obviously
Yeah.
means a lot to them. And also, like when we went back to Australia, we went to their school to visit for like a parent-teacher interview, and in each of their classrooms, we realised that pretty much all the work that they had done, all the pictures they'd drawn, all the stories they'd written were all about the life on the boat. So those kind of things make you
Yeah.
realise that it's had like a huge impact on them.
Yeah, that's awesome. All
Yeah.
right. Um, how has the quality of life changed since you became a digital nomad?
Um, well, in some ways, it's improved. We go out a lot, we eat out a lot, because eating out over here is cheaper than eating out in Australia. In Australia, you literally can't go out with a family of five for probably under $100. Over here, we can just go out for tapas. It's light until quite late at night. It's warm all the time. We have a pretty good social life because you often are meeting other people that live on boats and stuff. It's improved in that we are together and so we're seeing each other all the time and less stressed because we don't have commutes, we don't have kids sport to run to, we don't have to do school pickup or drop off. So we're literally in control of our destiny, of our life, of everything that we do. We're essentially free, which I think is amazing. And until you experience that, it's hard to imagine. And then once you experience it, it's actually really impossible to go back to normal life. So
Yeah.
I know that after the first sabbatical that we went on, when we went back home to Australia, I really struggled being back in an office, having to be places at certain times, having to, basically you don't get to be in control of your own life. You just have to do what's expected of you, what social norms are. Like you just
Yeah.
have to you have to do those things because if you want to
Yeah.
fit into the community, you just have to go to the parent teacher interviews and the birthday parties and the christenings and the everything else that you have to do. And so before you know it, your 2 days a week are gone and you really feel like you haven't had much time to do what you actually want to do and to spend with your family. So that's definitely improved since we've been a
Yeah.
digital nomad. I think our appreciation for things has improved. Like I often find myself pinching myself, thinking I'm so lucky to be living this lifestyle. Um, and I think that I've become, or I've learnt how capable I am when you're a digital nomad. You're so like you're responsible for your own happiness, for your own survival in a way, especially living on a boat. Like sometimes it's life or death, and you have to be responsible to navigate your way safely to the next destination. And that I think those challenges, the challenges of living a digital nomad lifestyle, have made me realize how capable I am, which then it improves your lifestyle, or because you know that you are capable of more. So then you push yourself for the next challenge, and before you know it, you've sailed across the Atlantic Ocean like we did not so long ago. So
Yeah.
it's definitely been life changing.
Mm-hmm. Um, 3 tips for viewers living as a digital nomad, or any travel hacks that you can offer.
Well, because we live on a boat, I don't have to really look for accommodation or transport. So, as for travel hacks, I don't really have a lot because we're spoiled in that we get to sleep in our own bed every night.
Yeah.
What was the first part of your question again?
Just 3 tips for living as a digital nomad.
Yeah, look, I think it's important it's hard to find a balance, and I know that it's important, but it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
But for me, like it kind of goes both ways. It's hard to find the balance of not working too much, but then it's also hard to find the balance of working enough because, you're in these amazing places and the beach is calling, or the city tour or the tapas or whatever you want to go out for is calling. So I find that I find it difficult to find the balance between working too much because my work's always there, my desk is next to my bed, like I can work all the time. But then on the other hand, I also want to go out and about and go to the museums and feel like I'm seeing the places that we visit. So I
Yeah.
think, yeah, finding a balance is important. And probably number one. Number two would be um, looking after your mental health because it can be quite isolating being a digital nomad and not having that circle of friends to kind of call up or be with. I mean, they're probably always on the other line, or the other end of the line, but with time zones and everything, I know that the times when I really want to speak to my family and friends are often asleep. So, you're limited in the times or the people that you can call. So I think with the coronavirus, there's probably a lot more online resources that people can turn to now, online counselling and
Yeah.
different things that you can do to connect with people. Because I don't, I also don't do co-working because we have our own boat, and I'm always, I've got my own house essentially. I missed out on working with other people as well. So I
Yeah.
know most digital nomads would probably have the co-working spaces where they could meet people,
Yeah.
which would be something that I probably should consider doing at least sometimes just to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite place you visited and why?
Well, we did almost 2 years in the Caribbean, and I love the Caribbean. And I think out of the whole world, my favorite place would have to be the island of Grenada. And we spent quite a lot of time there, so that's probably part of the reason why we fell in love with it so much. But I just think it was also the first island that we visited, so maybe had we have done it in a different order, I might not feel the same way about it. But it was just a beautiful tropical island. It had like the most amazing music, and everyone was always in the streets dancing and talking, and it was really hot all the time, and sunny, beautiful beaches, lovely people. I don't know, just something about it. We had an awesome time there, and yeah, I always say like I've left a little bit of my heart on the island of Grenada.
Yeah. I've never been, but hopefully someday I'll get there.
You should, yeah.
Okay. Do you think that the digital nomad lifestyle can be for everyone, or is it just for specific kinds of people, do you think?
Look, I like to think that if I can do it, so can most other people. I don't think that I'm anything special. I'm of average intelligence. We're middle class. We're not particularly business savvy or anything in particular. So I feel like if I've figured it out, so many more people than maybe what people give themselves credit for can probably do it. I think the key factor, and this is what I think's been the secret to my success, is just being determined and not giving up. There are going to be challenges that make you feel like it's too hard or it's not going to work out, but just keep going, keep striving for your dream. It's going to probably take a while to come up with some sort of way to make money on the road, but it is possible. If I'm a testament to that. I started my PR agency from scratch without having any experience of ever running a business or anything before. And now that's able to sustain our lifestyle as we sail around the world. So yeah, look, I'd like to say that it's for most people. It wouldn't be for everyone, but it's if you want it, you'll figure out a way to make it happen.
Yeah. All right. Okay. What is the most mentally challenging part about being a digital nomad?
Uh, I think it's can be like decision fatigue. So often you're working whilst you're traveling. So, you've got work life to deal with and making decisions with your business or working remotely or however you make your money. You've got you've got to find accommodation. In my case, not necessarily, but most digital nomads need to figure out where they're going, where they're staying, how they're getting there. In our case, on the boat, in addition to all of those things, we need to check the weather. We need to know about like customs and border control. We need to know about coronavirus restrictions. There's just like so many things that you have to constantly research that it can be, I find, mentally exhausting. And I get what I call decision fatigue, where some days I'm just like, my husband will ask me a question, where do you want to go next? And I'm just like, I can't even think about that right now. I'm so sick of making decisions and thinking and researching. Some days you just want life to be a bit more simpler than it is. Yeah, so I think that would be it.
Okay. How long do you usually stay in one place?
It varies. We were only going to stay here for a few days, and before we know it, we've been here for 2 weeks. So it's kind of like that. It's a bit of a like being in a time warp. We find living on a boat, we're constantly finding that we lose track of the days and the times and the weeks of how long we've been in places. So I'd say, look, on average, we probably stay for about a week or two. But we have stayed for 6 months or more in some places as well. So we just take it as it comes. As long as we're having fun, we'll stay. And when we get kind of itchy feet or feel like we're ready to go, we'll move on. That's the great part about it. There's not really any plans, although being in the Mediterranean is more difficult than in the Caribbean because now we have to also work in conjunction with the visa rules. So we don't really have the liberty of being able to just stay one place for 6 months anymore. And we've always kind of got in the back of our mind that we need to move on because we only have 3 months in total, like in one kind of EU area. So it makes it a lot harder.
Yeah. Okay, this is the last question. In what ways do you think travel has changed you as a person?
I think it's made me a lot more confident, a lot more worldly, a lot more compassionate and understanding and accepting of different ways of life, different people, different views. I used to, get annoyed when the customer service wasn't what I was used to back from, my home country, or when you just want a simple paperwork kind of procedure done, and it's always so much harder overseas. And now it's just like you just kind of roll with the punches. It's made me more patient, and I think it's taught me to slow down and not put such importance on material things or social status or wealth or things that really aren't important. And it's also made me appreciate my family more as well and want to be with them more because I know that you only get this time once. So I'm happy that we're all jammed in this tiny little boat together, even though it might drive me crazy at times. It's forcing us to have a close bond. And that's something I think that was definitely missing when we were living in a house and all going our separate ways each day to school and work and, play dates and stuff. So, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you for coming on here and letting me interview you. It's been
You're welcome.
awesome.
Thank you for
Um,
having me.
yeah, I loved hearing about your boat life. I'm very jealous. Okay.
You'll have to give it a go one day if you ever meet anyone with a boat. Ask to go
Yeah.
on board. There's also heaps of YouTube channels that you can watch about it, which are really inspiring. They helped us kind of get on board. So yeah.
Well, we actually just got a question, so we can
Oh, we
answer this one
did.
quick. How does your business or how does it work? Do you represent the companies that need influencers, or do you connect influencers to brands, or both?
A bit of both. So I primarily work with businesses or brands that have a product or a business that they're trying to promote. And so as a way of promoting the business, sometimes we will find an influencer that we think is a fit, and then we'll collaborate with the influencer to help promote the business. And then sometimes I work with influencers. So for example, S.E. Della, Sailing Every Rose. I've had numerous sailing YouTube channels as clients, and sometimes we connect them with businesses. So, Doyle Sales or Victron batteries, I mean Victron Electronics, whatever. We'll connect them and then form a brand partnership. But primarily, my role is to promote that business or brand through media. So by pitching their story to magazines and podcasts and blog sites, online digital websites, and then getting journalists, compelling journalists basically to share their story through the media.
All right.
Hopefully that
Well,
answers your question.
yeah. All right. Any other questions? Uh, I think we're good. All right. Well,
Awesome.
thank you for coming on.
Thank you again.
Have a
It's been
great
a pleasure.
have rest of your night. All
Thanks,
right.
Sidney.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.